Welcome to Blue Talks.
Thank you, Tori. It's so great to be here at University of Miami. Like a lot of people, we've talked about earlier today how public speaking is the number one fear. And I'm nervous today. You might be able to hear it in my voice, but not for the reasons you might think. This is the first time I've been to the University of Miami campus since I was operated on by a doctor who's sitting in the audience today. A year later, I was paddled back to life. And today, I'm happy to be healthy and here to tell you about the changing face of addiction. So, hello and welcome. Why would I be talking to anybody about this topic, the general population? And the reason is because addiction today, it doesn't look like it did 100 years ago. It's new and it's changing, and we have to change the face of recovery along with it. Over 50 million Americans self-identified as addicts in 2023 alone. And then there's the millions more who love them. So I am a recovery advocate. I've been working in the field for 15 years alongside my husband. We have a recovery residence community called the Lodge at Delray Beach, and we help people in year-long programs to get sober and stay sober long-term, because if you can get to a year sober, you have an 80% chance of staying sober long-term. So who I'm talking to today? The first group are those 50 million adults that would be struggling with addiction. The other group I'm talking to are the ones that love them, and that's countless millions more. It is a family disease. It reaches through communities, and I believe it takes the community and the family to come back together to raise a healthy person in recovery. So I like to play a little game called Can You Spot the Person Who's Affected by Addiction? First, you have a young boy who is clearly got some intense emotions around gaming. Then you have the executive, the C-suite, or the business person who is taking cocaine to get up in the morning, and he's taking Xanax to go to sleep at night. What about the soccer mom who isn't in the fans in the stands cheering for her kids? She's passed out on the field. What about the doctor who's just exhausted and he's had enough? He just doesn't know how he can do this another day. Then there's the lady of the night. Where's she getting her stuff from? What about the mom who's just had enough and passed out on the couch? Or you have the grandmother who's counting her prescriptions because she's trying to see if she can both eat for the rest of the month and pay her bills and get her own relief that she needs. The prescription was given for some reason, but a lot of older people are now selling their medications. And then you have the guy that's drinking straight from the bottle on the street. So who here is affected? All of them. Every single one. Addiction has infiltrated our American society. We are addicted to me. We are addicted to more. There's legal and illicit use. They act the same in the body. So just because your doctor wrote you a prescription, and so it's okay, right? Because my doctor wrote the prescription. You still are responsible for your own body. And that literature that comes with that medication says this medication is addictive. It doesn't say for people on Tuesday or with blonde hair. It's everyone. So what used to look like the bum on the streets looks like you and me now. Why is that? Well, one reason is personality traits that make someone good at being a strong leader can also be the same indicators that are there when someone has a tendency towards addiction. Then we have adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. There's lots of literature behind this that says the more adverse childhood experiences you have, the more likely it is that you're going to reach for a drink, a drug, or a behavior. Many Americans take something to get up in the morning and something to go to bed. And then high-pressure jobs have a direct correlation with increased stress. So the learning objectives for today. First, we're going to define addiction. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the signs and symptoms. Next, we're going to talk about the addiction recovery continuum. And lastly is how you can help. So, an introduction to addiction in the 21st century. 100 years ago, there was a man named Bill Wilson who came up with a group called Alcoholics Anonymous. And he wrote a book of the same name. And that was the first time really in history where there was some significant milestones being made in the recovery space. But that through the years, through this 100 years, it appeals to some people and doesn't appeal so much to others. But we can learn from what has been done already. So what is the definition of addiction today? It's both a brain disorder and a mental health illness. It's in the DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Illnesses. So this is a mental health issue, but it's a robber of the dopamine cycle. So you're taking drugs that actually hijacks your brain and throws you back into that reptilian brain, which is fight, flight, or freeze. Then we have problem behaviors in addition to substances like gambling, shopping, eating food, gaming. Gaming is really big now. We've got a huge amount of people that their families are leaving them because they've made a whole new family with their Call of Duty friends downstairs and they're waiting for dad upstairs at the dinner table. So what is the current situation? Well, mental health and behavioral addictions are up 40% since 2019. There is a decrease in people's ability to meet obligations, and there is an increase in adverse childhood experiences. We are having trouble coping after COVID. We are dealing with more dangerous substances and behaviors. You know, you hear a lot on the news about fentanyl, but this isn't the fentanyl that the doctor is prescribing you. This is fentanyl that's made in Mexico with Chinese products and slipped across the border. It's this alternate, a manufactured substance, and so you can't really regulate it, and its effects are much more deadly. You have intentional poisoning. I don't believe that those children who died in the daycare where they were slinging fentanyl out of the back chose to be an addict that morning. But she died with a few granules of fentanyl. There's accidental addiction. So what was once a couple of times out with the girls turns into a bottle of wine being delivered to the house every day. And then people started going back to work, and some people went back to work, and some people didn't. So it's important to recognize the signs, right? So you have denial of the behavior. You have increased tolerance. You have lying and cheating. You get caught with loss of interest in things you once used to love. There's a lot of secrecy. There could be financial problems or legal problems, neglecting responsibilities, escalating consequences. So to understand the addiction recovery continuum, it's important that we talked about what addiction is so we can talk about what recovery is. The important thing about the addiction recovery continuum is that you don't have to struggle alone. There are 4 distinct phases, and we'll go through those in just a second, but over 15% of American adults responded that they had a substance abuse disorder in the past year, and the millions more, like I talked about earlier, that love them. This is really a widespread problem. So first on the addiction recovery continuum is the medical detox. Sometimes with certain substances, there's a couple in general that you really need to have a medical detox. It's dangerous if you try to stop them on your own. So it's really important that you talk with your doctor about that and decide if a medical detoxification is right for you. But it's used to stabilize the patient before going to treatment. Then you have the treatment center. A treatment center can be either a in-person inpatient treatment or a partial hospitalization program, which is called a PHP. Now, the difference in those is for a regular in-person inpatient addiction center, you go there and everything is in one location. So you really are a captive audience for a month to 2 months to 3 months to a year, depending on some programs. A partial hospitalization program is typically you live off-site and they drive you to your educational seminars every day. And that usually takes about 28 days. That's the typical stay in a treatment center. Then you have an intensive outpatient. This is where patients go for about 3 months. They live in their own home, in a recovery residence community, or on the site of the treatment center. They will undergo some very intensive, like 3 hours of training, things like family roles and talking about transmittable diseases that frequently happen among users, just to get them to understand a little bit more about their addiction. And then there's the recovery residences. They're also called sober homes or halfway houses. You might have heard of these kind of places. They're group living homes where people who are trying to get sober and stay sober from whatever substance, whether it's alcohol or drugs or behaviors, they work together with a staff and really, really learn how to build their lives back the way that they want to, not in a substance abuse way. So this was really confusing, right? There's a lot of things. Addiction recovery is rarely a straight line. You don't just go, okay, I want to get well, and it's a straight line there. It's usually detox to treatment, to recovery residence, to detox, maybe to IOP, back to treatment. If you're not aware of the systems in place, it can be really hard to navigate this system. But the easiest thing to do is to go from one to the other. So 80% of treatment graduates go home. They go back to where they know, and that's really a problem because most of the people that go home will not get well. Those who stay sober a year, as I mentioned earlier, have an 80% chance of staying sober long term. Those who don't make it have less than a 15% chance of staying sober long term. Today, you can get help in recovery from the comfort and privacy of your own home. There are programs that can come straight to you. We have developed such a program and it's working out well. So what can you do if you love someone or you are addicted yourself? Well, we can cultivate empathy. Nobody wakes up and says, I want to be an addict today. There's an ability or a need to love people where they're at and let them know that you're in their corner. Maybe you don't like their behavior. You can say, I don't like your behavior, but don't say, I don't like you. We need to be a little more empathetic and learn about initiatives in your area. There are lots of communities where you can get involved with having a healthy, sober community, even if you're not in recovery yourself, just if you're a concerned citizen. We have several of those in Delray Beach. So you can also see things from their perspective, right? You can try to understand that addiction is a lonely, lonely situation. Try to be a comfort. Celebrate the small wins. They're huge in the beginning. A white key tag, a 30-day, a 60-day, a 90-day. That might not sound like much to you guys, But to somebody who's early in recovery, that's everything. Just getting that next day, that next 5 minutes if you need to. Encourage your loved ones to keep going, even if it's hard. The next is access professional help. Speak to your doctor. Don't lie to them about what is happening in your life. They can't help you if you are not honest with them. Honestly tell your doctor what you're going through. And treatment is beneficial for most people, so that is the first line of defense that we have. But recovery residence is also, as I mentioned earlier, can improve your chances greatly to get to that year, that golden year mark. So practicing the ABCs of recovery. We talked about addiction can be confusing and frustrating for the loved ones, you know, so when you aren't sure where to start with the ABCs of recovery. A is accept your situation and take action. It's imperative that you do something, move a muscle, change a thought. B, be willing to start over and over. Be brave enough to start over and over and over until you get it right, till you achieve your desired results, life on your terms. C, cultivate a stellar support system. Make sure that you have people in your life that you can talk to, that you can trust, and that you feel like that can help you get to that next level. So the A for accept your situation, you can educate yourself on addiction. You can seek professional help. You can face your situation and recover. You can acknowledge your limitations, determine a plan of action, utilize your strengths, collaborate with others in your field and in the same situation, take the next right steps, and keep going no matter what. B, be brave enough to start over and over until you achieve your desired results. Learn to handle difficult situations. Build on previous successes. It's like muscles, right? Yeah, I got to build it, break it down before you build it up. Engage in personal development. This is essential. Know yourself and know what you like and start bringing more of that into your life. Look to others who have accomplished what you desire and create a reward system for reaching goals. Even those small goals that I told you about, you know, it's important that you attach a reward to that, to have some kind of an attaboy for getting your 30 days. And then create a stellar support system. There's a lot of places that you can go to do that. There are the anonymous programs like AA, NA, or CA. There's also Recovery Dharma, Celebrate Recovery, Smart Recovery. There's religious communities, small groups. If you're loving someone who's in addiction, there's Al-Anon or family groups. Small circle of friends, a sponsor, a mentor, and again, if necessary, seek professional help. So what can we do moving forward? We can continue having these hard conversations. I don't want people to tell me again to stop talking about this. I don't understand when people ask me, you know, they don't want me talking about this, but the reality is addiction is affecting our entire country. And we are going to just be bowled over by the tsunami if we don't prepare. So keep lines of communication open. Warn loved ones about counterfeit drugs. Understand that they are using poison in these, it's in pot, it's everywhere. Fentanyl is in everything. Get help from professionals and make self-care a priority. This is where you can find us at all the places. You can reach me personally at https://infone.co/rch. And I really am really excited to talk to each and every one of you, because this is something that I know we can turn around. It takes a village to raise a child. And I think we have one here. So I'm asking for your help. Thank you.